How would the legendary bird Ho-Oh do in a playthrough of Pokémon Red? Ho-Oh is an incredible Pokémon with a moveset that stretches all the way from Earthquake to Mega Drain. It has a bad typing, but the stats and moves might make up for it. Make sure to subscribe so you can catch more of these Pokemon videos every week, and let's get into it. We have a new look for our video today. This is my new custom overlay that I've been working on. I love the Scott's Thoughts overlay that I've been using for a while, but I wanted something unique that I could call my own. You may still see some glitches from time to time as I'm still ironing some of those details out. I like that I can customize this to show Ho-Oh and its stats and moves, including Sacred Fire. This is a modified ROM that I added Ho-Oh to the Pokédex and to the Wild Encounters. I ran into some issues switching out the starters. I still need to get a little bit better at that part, so I just created it as an encounter in Route 1. I named Charmander Alex after Alex Crossley. Thank you so much, Alex, for being subscribed. You're awesome. Instead, we're going to pick Charmander to make sure the rival picks Squirtle. We want to face Blastoise at the end because that's going to be the hardest matchup for Ho-Oh, and I think it's going to need the challenge. I also added a Master Ball to my PC so I can catch it more easily, so we don't have to sit here and try to let me struggle to catch it with Pokeballs. And there it is, the legendary bird itself. Honestly, I think this is the coolest of the legendary birds, and its moveset is really incredible. I included it there in the top right of the screen, but I didn't include all the TMs that it can learn. I couldn't fit them all. It honestly learns so much. It has some crazy coverage from Earthquake, Body Slam, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Mega Drain, Fly. Like, it is really good. And of course, starting out, we are starting with Sacred Fire, which is a base 100, 95% accurate move that can burn 50% of the time. Pretty great, in all honesty, especially for the forest. We can just blast the bugs right out of existence. I can't imagine what it would look like on the receiving end as a trainer with a Weedle facing a Ho-Oh that just hits Sacred Fire. Brutal. Now, there is a big limitation here with this moveset, and that's the fact that I only have 5 PP, so that's a little bit worrying. The burn is pretty useful, but against Brock, he has full heals actually, 5 full heals per Pokemon. So no matter how many times I burn him, he's just going to be able to heal it. So that's a little bit unfortunate. So I just need to knock him out with Sacred Fire before I run out of PP, at least so I don't struggle too much. With that last crit, Ho-Oh gets through without having to struggle at all. As we get on to the next route, I learned Mist. This is what I used to replace Safeguard. I was having some issues creating Safeguard because it's a very different mechanic than what we have in Gen 1. I figured that I'm going to be replacing this move anyway, so it really wasn't worth the effort to try to iron out all the problems with Safeguard. The issue with having Mist now is that it has a lot of PP, so if I run out of Sacred Fire, I can't actually struggle very quickly, so I really need to conserve my PP. Unfortunately, this means basically I can get 1 or 2 fights in and then I have to go back to the Pokemon Center. I did pick up the Ether as well just in case, if I needed it here at the end. I also teach Bide. Bide is going to be useful if I run out of Sacred Fire because I can then use it instead of having to deplete all of Mist in order to struggle. Luckily, Sacred Fire does a lot of damage because of its typing getting Stab and its base 100 power, so it's effectively 150 power, which is incredible. An interesting thing about Ho-Oh is it actually has much higher attack than Special Attack, which is what I used as its special stat here in Gen 1. Its special attack is actually as high as Mewtwo's special, which would have been insane and I feel like way too overpowered. But it is interesting to me that it's kind of a physical attacker, but then its signature move is Sacred Fire, whereas Lugia gets Aeroblast, which is a physical move. Kind of an odd choice there. As we get to Cerulean, I definitely know that Misty is going to be an issue with Bubble Beam, so I'm going to go to the rival first, which is actually going to be pretty easy. There is the issue that I have to use Sacred Fire on the first 2 Pokemon because I don't want to get hit by Sand Attack, and Abra won't be able to do any damage to me, so I can't use Bide. That means that I run out of PP by the time I am on Squirtle, so it actually gets really close there. Bide just barely clinches the win, but man, that is just not a good situation to be in with Squirtle. Nugget Bridge is a breeze, but that limited Sacred Fire PP is really starting to haunt me. Have to go back again and again, but each fight is actually easy. It's just Ho-Oh doesn't have the stamina to make it through all of the different fights because of its moveset. Speaking of which, I pick up Thunder Wave at the end of Nugget Bridge just to add to it. I think it's going to be maybe useful against Misty. It's just nice to have some status options. In Misty's gym, I need a little bit more experience to try to get as high level as possible, so I fight the Swimmer as well. And you can see because the water types resist Sacred Fire, my damage isn't where I want it to be. What I decide to do is that I have 2 rare candies, which if I use right now will get me to level 22, and I'll be able to learn Gust. Gust is not flying type in Gen 1, so it's only normal type, which is unfortunate. I won't get Stab on that, so it's going to be weaker than it would be. I almost replaced this with Wing Attack because that is a Gen 1 move that is flying, and it only has 35 base power, so it would have been pretty similar. But Gust does exist in Gen 1, so I felt it was more fair to just give it the exact move it would have had. You can really see that the fire typing is not helpful here at all. Thunder Wave maybe could be useful if I really got lucky and might be able to win it, but after 2 resets, I just really don't think it's going to happen this time. So I head over to Vermilion to do the SSN, to fight the rival, get the extra levels, and to get Body Slam. Now with Ho-Oh's excellent attack stat, Body Slam is going to do great damage. I'm able to showcase that with the rival here on the SSN. It's nice to finally have some options besides Sacred Fire. Body Slam is a great Gen 1 move. It's really a go-to for just reliability in general. After the rival, we can finish up the SSN and let that sail away, but we haven't even finished Misty yet, so we're going to have to backtrack for her. We have Body Slam, and we can do much more damage, much more reliable, and with Thunder Wave to paralyze as well, if we needed it, the fight goes much better than it did earlier. I then go to Surge. Now this might be a little bit risky because Ho-Oh is a flying type and is weak to electric moves, but I want the TM for Thunderbolt, and Surge's team is very different in red than it is in yellow. He doesn't just have a Raichu that's level 28, he instead has a full team and they're lower level. I'm going to teach Thunderbolt right away because that is an awesome move and it covers the weakness that Ho-Oh has to water Pokemon, so that's going to be really good. We pick up the bike and we can head to Rock Tunnel, where we fight the Super Nerd at the front. Granted, Thunderbolt really makes them a lot easier. Ho-Oh can just blast the Slowpokes out of the way with Thunderbolt, and that will get us to the self-destructing Hiker. Now I'm a little bit worried about this guy. Sacred Fire I think is my best option, and I get 2 crits, one on each of the Geodudes, which is kind of crazy. I don't know what kind of luck that was, but that was really good. Crits in Gen 1 are broken. The burn as well on Graveler is pretty clutch because Rock-type moves deal 4 times damage. They could really hurt, but that cut attack from the burn status really helps. We can do all of our errands and we can do our shopping. We're going to be picking up some vitamins and doing all of that. But do you guys remember that in the anime, Ash sees Ho-Oh, I think in episode 1 or thereabout, and it's actually a Pokemon that existed in concept for quite a while before it was actually released in game. And I think that's really cool. I don't know if the fire typing was really the best pick for it, but I don't really know what else it could have been. It's almost more of a light type than a fire type, and I think a sunlight Pokemon or something like that. That could be kind of cool. I run into a bit of a problem because I have not caught a flyer yet. I am not planning on using Fly on Ho-Oh because I'm going to get other moves that are actually better, but I don't have enough money to get the Great Balls that I was planning on. So I'm going to have to just leave that for later. I'm going to still go pick up Fly just because I'm here, but I'm going to have to catch a Doduo or something like that as I go throughout the playthrough later. I do pick up Psychic because Ho-Oh can learn Psychic. I don't know if I'm going to use it because I do get access to Earthquake here in a bit, and I feel like that's just going to be the better option. We can head to Pokemon Tower to fight the rival, and his team is really easy here. I mean, normally he's easy, but today he's really, really easy. Thunderbolt against the Wartortle 2 for coverage, I mean, it's just kind of crazy. Ho-Oh is already level 30, which is actually pretty good for this part of the game. It is a slow growth rate Pokemon, being a legendary, so I think that it's going to finish at a pretty low level. I think in red version as well, there might be less experience to gain from the gyms, so it might even end up a lower level than I'm planning. After clearing out the rockets and heading back with Mr. Fuji to his place, we can head over to Erica's gym. Now I think about training up here, but I honestly don't think Ho-Oh is going to have any issues in the late game. Moltres had a huge problem with the Gyarados, and really anybody with a really hard-hitting Hydro Pump or anything like that. I don't think Ho-Oh is going to have that issue. Thunderbolt's just going to blast away the Gyarados, so I don't think that's going to be a problem at all. I head back to Celadon and I start to struggle to catch a Doduo. The problem with having such a powerful learn set like Ho-Oh has is that I don't have anything that will help me catch a Doduo. And obviously I have lower level Pokemon. I have the Charmander that I use as my starter that I'm also using as an HM user. But in these solo playthroughs, I think that how easy it is to catch a Pokemon with your solo starter is actually kind of important as well. So I wanted to show that here. We do finally catch it on the last Great Ball, which is really lucky, and we name it Snoken. Thanks so much, Snoken, for being subscribed. We head out to the bike route, and we accidentally encounter one trainer, otherwise we're skipping everybody else here. I pick up the items though as we go, and then I'm going to head to the Safari Zone, where it is a little bit slower because I am actually low enough level that I can't avoid all encounters with a Repel, which is a little bit annoying. And this is where we're going to get a big upgrade. Here on floor 10, after we beat this Machoke, which actually survives our Sacred Fire surprisingly, we're going to level up and we're going to get Recover, which is a huge upgrade. I actually think I'm going to use this instead of Rest today, after which we can also pick up Earthquake. Ho-Oh can really benefit from this awesome physical move, and it has great coverage for electric types, poison types. It's just an excellent move. On the way to the rival, I fight a couple of trainers, then we run into this scientist and... Uh-oh, what did I do? I think that when I was modifying the RAM, I messed up his sprite, but I'll fix that in the future, I guess. Ooh. And with that, we can get to the rival. Now, I am extremely underleveled for this fight, but I do kind of want to just see how I do. Ho-Oh has excellent coverage for this fight, so I think it can actually win at this low level. The main problem is the Blastoise, but it only has Water Gun as its main damage dealing water type move, so I think it's actually not going to be that bad. And I'm right, Thunderbolt makes that really easy. Now in red version I don't get Squirtle, so I have to pick up Lapras, and I'm going to name this Cosmic. Thank you so much Cosmic for being subscribed. And that's our subscribers today, so if you want to see your name pop up in the future, make sure to get subscribed. Thank you so much for the support, everybody. You're awesome. We can head to Giovanni now, and while he resists some of my moves, Sacred Fire is still an excellent move. Earthquake gives good coverage for Rock-type Pokemon, and Ground types, including the Nidoqueen. So Thunderbolt isn't that useful here, but Sacred Fire and Earthquake are still a devastating combo. With that, we can head over to Koga, who should be a breeze with Earthquake. I really like his team here in red. I wish that he still had this team for yellow. The Venonats he has in yellow are just such a downgrade. It's actually cool to see some really strong poison types like Weezing and Muck on his team. I feel like they're much more of a problem to deal with for some Pokemon. Granted, you have Earthquake by this point, so there is that. After Koga, I'm going to pick up Strength and pick up the rare candy in the Warden's house as well. Ooh, a piece of candy. After that, I head to Pallet Town. I'm actually going to fight Blaine before Sabrina today, both because Blaine in red and blue is just awful, so I'm going to take advantage of that. But also I want the special boost for Sabrina because I don't resist her moves, and she could actually do some decent damage with her psychic types. So I'm a little bit more scared of her than Blaine. And I think for good reason, because he starts with a Growlithe and a Ponyta. Like, why does the 7th gym leader have a Growlithe and a Ponyta? And then his Rapidash only has Fire Spin as its only fire type move? I feel bad because he's so bad in this game, but he's actually pretty good in yellow. After that, we head to Sabrina, and I actually like her team a lot here as well. They're much lower level than they are in yellow, but she has a Mr. Mime and a Venomoth, which I think are really cool additions to her team, and make more sense in all honesty than Koga. Granted, Venomoth is poison type, but since it uses Psychic as its main attacking move in yellow as well, I feel like it belongs more on her team than Koga's. Ho-Oh's excellent attack stat makes this an easy fight, and with that, we're ready to go fight Giovanni. Giovanni is also quite different in red than he is in yellow. He starts with a Rhyhorn, which is actually better against Ho-Oh than Dugtrio, since my flying type makes me immune to all the ground type moves. Also, his Dugtrio here has Slash, which is pretty cool. The Nidos though don't have Thunder, so unfortunately they're a pushover today. The big thing that is actually really good for Ho-Oh is that Rhydon doesn't have Rock Slide. That is actually so good and really makes this much easier, because I have to hit it a couple of times in order to take it out. Now it's time for the final rival fight before the league, and here Ho-Oh is actually very underleveled. We're going to this fight at level 42, which is really low. That's that slow growth rate. And with Thunderbolt, Pidgeot's actually a breeze. And in red and blue, the rival actually has a Rhyhorn as well. This wastes a little bit of time, but not too bad. He still has a Growlithe as well at this point. How is that possible? I mean, Celadon was forever ago. He could have had a Firestone by now. The main threats on his team are actually Alakazam and Blastoise. Alakazam is an excellent special attacker. While I'm not weak to it, it can still get good damage if it's lucky. Especially if it sets up Reflect, that's a little bit rough. Luckily we have Thunderbolt for Blastoise as well. I mean, it could be hitting some serious water moves here at the end of the game, so I'm a little bit scared of that, but I think it's going to be okay. And with that win, we're off to Victory Road. At the end of Victory Road, I'm so close to leveling up. I just ride back and forth at the end of the cave here until I can find just a random encounter, just to get me over that last level up to get to level 45, so I can use some rare candies without wasting experience. I do use a few rare candies here just to get Ho-Oh up to level 50, and then we can head to the Elite Four. Ho-Oh does take super effective damage from ice attacks because fire does not resist ice in Gen 1, so that is a little bit scary. Luckily I have Recover, so that gives me a good option if I do take some damage. Her Slowbro actually doesn't have Surf in red. I feel like with Amnesia and then Surf, that could have been scary, but it would have needed some time to set up, and that just isn't going to happen with Thunderbolt. Jinx is weak to physical attacks, and then Lapras takes super effective damage from Thunderbolt. But since I can take her out in 2 hits with Thunderbolt, I think the only way she could have won that is getting a crit. And then there's Bruno, and unfortunately for him, he's even worse in red. He doesn't have Rock Slide or Earthquake on his Onixes, and all his other Pokemon are just not good, so he's a cakewalk for Ho-Oh. Agatha is always risky. She has so many status conditions that she can inflict, as well as set damage and poison. Earthquake, though, makes this much better. Super effective damage and physical damage, especially, is really beneficial in her fight. I don't use Mimic here because I'm pretty sure Ho-Oh's going to do well, and I don't want to give up any of my really solid moves at this point, so I'm just going to have to go for it, and luckily, it actually goes very well. Lance is actually quite different in red as well. His Gyarados is still easy, because Thunderbolt is incredible for it, but his Dragonairs don't have Ice Beam and Thunderbolt anymore, which is actually really good for Ho-Oh. It can take them out pretty quickly anyway with Earthquake. Aerodactyl almost takes Ho-Oh down though. It can hit really hard with that Hyper Beam, so luckily Recover is a great option here. Down to 11 HP is pretty close. I'm actually really surprised here, even though Ho-Oh was only level 53, that I can't take out Aerodactyl in 1 hit with Thunderbolt. I thought that would be like guaranteed, but no. I paralyzed Dragonite right off the bat instead of burning it. I would have rather preferred to burn from Sacred Fire actually, now that I'm thinking about it. And its Hyper Beam hits really hard. I don't know if it would have been actually easier or harder in yellow. It would be using Thunder or Blizzard depending on how the AI was reading my typing. Because Dragonite has lower special, so those moves wouldn't hit as hard as Hyper Beam. So I don't know if that would have been better or worse for Ho-Oh. Before the champion, I used the last of my rare candies, and I have the option to learn Swift here. I don't take it because that's not a great move at this point in the game, and in all honesty, Ho-Oh's late game moveset is actually pretty bad. In Gen 2, it does get Ancient Power toward the end of its learn set, so that I guess is a good option. But like Whirlwind, Swift, man, those are just not good. I unfortunately don't have any weather effects either, those just didn't exist in Gen 1. So those would have probably made Ho-Oh even better, but then again, I don't think it needed it for Red. Now the champion fight is an upgrade to the last one on Route 22. He's fully evolved all his Pokemon at this point, including Rhydon, which will resist my moves. Besides that though, his team will all take super effective damage from one of my moves, so I really have some good options for this fight. The scariest thing is that Blastoise at the end has Hydro Pump, so I'm really dreading that. I don't want to go into that last matchup at a low health or with any status conditions, so I have to be careful there. Plus it misses Hydro Pump, so that really secures the win. And with that, Ho-Oh's completed Red version. At level 58, with a game time of 4 hours and 13 minutes and a real time of 1 hour and 4 minutes, including the time it takes to catch and all the setup at the beginning, its moveset and coverage make it an excellent Pokemon for Gen 1. I hope you like this custom ROM playthrough. Let me know what you think. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like this video, and there's going to be more to come next week. Have a wonderful day.